In this video, we're going to transform this nice piece of old ash that I cut down with a friend into a dried meat board. Oh, dried meat board, that just doesn't sound right. Yeah, charcuterie board. Charcuterie board is what it's called. It is going to be much better than a dried meat board. This is a nice piece of crotch ash. You can't really see the figuring in here, but there is a lot of patterning in the wood. So when this is all prepped and cleaned up, I think it's going to look really good as a charcuterie board. And on top of that, we're going to do some laser engraving in this as well. So stick around. Charcuterie boards make excellent gifts, and it's even better if you can do some laser engraving on them as well. The one that I'm making today is for the fun fair at the kids' school. It's going to be one of the prizes that's raffled off. And it doesn't look like much right now, but when we clean this thing up, it's going to look fantastic. First thing we need to do is take this bark off. Both ends of the board are checked. They have these cracks traveling up a few inches, so we need to remove those few inches. When I cut this from the log, I used a chainsaw, and I obviously didn't do a great job because the piece is pretty warped. So before I put this through the planer, I need to deal with that. So I'm going to go around with a marker and mark out all of the spots that I want to remove material. And the method I'd like to use today to rough flatten one side is to use the adze, and more than anything else, it's just because I enjoy using it, but I think it'll work well here. It does remove material really quickly. This is kind of a half organic shape. So what I think I'd like to do is use some of that shape as the inspiration. It actually works really well functionally for getting your hand underneath. So we'll say that this is the top, and I need something that wraps around the end as well, makes it a bit more organic, and I can also deal with this straight edge here, the straight ends as well. So we'll have something that looks kind of like that is also beveled on the bottom. And to remove the bulk of this material, I'm going to use this really nice hatchet. I do need to address some of these edges. I'd really like to get a consistent look. So I have a bit more material to remove here. And for that, I'm just going to use the draw knife. So the edge here transitions from a little bit of a flat to razor sharp. So I'm just going to take this and blunt that edge a little bit. I was going to do the final sanding with the orbital, but I had a closer look and there's a little bit of grain tear out on this side and on the back side as well. So instead, I'm going to switch over and use the belt sander with 100 grit sandpaper and just take this down a little bit, get rid of that tear out. All the sanding is complete on the front and back and the sides as well, and it's looking and feeling great. And you can see this nice grain here is just going to pop when we apply that final finish. I do want to turn my attention to the back because I would like to get set up to do some laser engraving both at the edge here and probably towards the center. I think it'd be really cool, whoever gets this in the end can bring this back to me, and if they'd like some custom laser engraving added maybe in this area or wherever, they can bring it back and I'll add that for them. Before I go ahead and attempt to do some laser engraving on this material, it is really tough. I think it's a good idea to get set up on the Atomstack X20 Pro. So this is the test just to see how the depth would turn out and how dark that engraving would be, and I think this is pretty good. There is a little bit of residue left over. You can just use some alcohol on a cloth and clean that off. This more porous area, it was able to go a little bit deeper, and the more dense area, it was a little bit shallower. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. I don't know if you guys have experience with staining charcuterie boards or cutting boards, but finding a stain that's food grade is actually kind of difficult. So this is instant coffee, and it's pretty cool that it was able to stain this well. I think for this particular project, I'm going to opt out of doing that. I'm not sure how that's going to turn out with all of the different grain that I've got. It might accentuate some of the grains that I don't want. So that may be a good test for a future project. If you've got experience with this, let me know in the comment section below what you use for food grade stain. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like when I apply some oil. This is cutting board oil. This is what I'll be using. That turned out perfect. I couldn't be happier with that. If you're curious, this oil, this says walrus oil. It's not made from walrus. It's made from coconut oil, beeswax, mineral oil, and vitamin E. So that will soak and penetrate into the wood. I'm actually going to do 2 coats of this on the final product, and I have another product as well for the top coat. After 3 coats on the top of this oil, cutting board oil, this is what the finish looks like, and there's a little bit of a sheen to it. And now we just need to wait 24 hours until we can apply that final top coat wax and buff that out, and hopefully we get a little bit more depth and a little bit more sheen as well. I'm finally ready to put the wax on, and I have the same walrus oil wax. This is for cutting boards. Beeswax, coconut oil, and mineral oil are the ingredients. And those are the same ingredients in the oil. And that made me a bit curious as to how much more protection the wax is going to offer than just the oil. So I have the sample that I've created. Both sides have 3 applications of oil, and the oil has penetrated quite deep into the grain, maybe about 3/8 of an inch, 10 millimeters into the grain. And I've applied wax, just 1 coat of wax onto this side. So I have some tea, really well steeped, coffee, really well steeped, and I have some cups, which I'm going to put ice into and allow condensation to form. And we're going to see how well these 2 stand up against each other versus these stains. And now all we have left to do is wait, and I think 2 hours should be enough to see the results. Already I can see a difference on this side. This is still beaded up quite a bit. This looks like it's saturated into the grain a little bit more. As far as the water goes, the grain on this one is, the wood on this one's fairly light. It's really tough to tell, so let's take these off. And I think I made a bit of a mistake on this one. That T went right around, and it probably went around, yeah, it went around the bottom. And I'm going to let this dry, and we'll come back and take a look at the final result. This version here did provide a little bit more protection. You can see these are a little bit darker than this one, and they're a little bit more spread out as well, but they're still stained. If you guys have experience with doing non-toxic coatings on boards like this, let me know in the comments. I'm interested to find out what you do and what other options there may be out there that are better than this. Let's go ahead and get the final wax on the charcuterie board. The instructions say to apply it and then let it set for 15 minutes. It says let it dry, but I don't really think this material dries, so let it set for 15 minutes and then buff it out. I have already done the bottom and the sides. We'll say it does smell really good. This smells like beeswax. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes. Time for the final buffing, and we'll see how this looks. Hey, I'm pretty happy with the result. Wax actually looks good, it feels good, it smells great. All we have left to do now is try it out. So this board does a great job of displaying all of the most expensive cheeses, and I think overall it turned out really well. I'm pretty happy with it, and I especially like this area with the figured grain. So if you guys found this video helpful and you enjoyed it, make sure you like the video and subscribe, and take care everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Ugh.